Hello there. I'm at the hangar today for an oil change on the airplane. This is a 1968 Mooney M20C Ranger, distinguished from other Moonies of its time because of a 180 horsepower Lycoming O360 A1D. It's carbureted, normally aspirated. Similar airframe, also had a fuel-injected 200 horsepower model. There was also an F and a G model, also with carbureted and fuel-injected. I can't remember which is which. There's also a D model. I'm not sure if they were still in production in 1968. Same airplane with fixed gear. Last I heard, all but one or two of those in the country had been converted to retractable landing gear, which, of course, this has. So, anybody familiar with the airplane? I'm not going to go through the whole oil change. I just have a little trick as far as getting the oil filter off without making a mess. The first few oil changes I did on this airplane, in fact, the first oil change, I had a mechanic show me how to do it to find out what the best way is. And we just packed a whole bunch of rags underneath the oil filter and still made a mess. Subsequently, I tried some methods using a Ziploc baggie to wrap around the oil filter as you're taking it off and that sort of thing. And I still spent half an hour to an hour cleaning up the mess that got made both inside the airplane and on the hangar floor and everywhere else after I was done. So anyway, this method I can't take credit for. I found it on a Mooney forum called Mooney Space. I haven't been there for a year or two now, but some smart guy there came up with this method, and it works wonderfully. I no longer spill a drop of oil. So anyway, that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm not going to fly the airplane today. I usually do that to get the oil hot. I need a BFR, and my medical is not current. There's been some changes with the third-class medical requirements. Coincident with the examiner in my town closing up shop, so it necessitated a long drive to get a medical and the expense involved and everything. So, and I just haven't had the time to go through the process to do the self-certification thing. So, and again, like I say, I need a BFR. This last year, I usually fly about 100 hours a year, and I didn't fly. It's been nearly a year since I've flown. So, but trying to keep up with the maintenance on the airplane, and my New Year's resolution is to get back in the air again. So, anyway. That's about the long and the short of it. I'll show you what I'm doing as we progress. Okay, back again. I thought I had filmed the start and taxi out to the run-up area to warm up the engine, but apparently when I turned on the camera, I just took a picture of it and didn't film it. So not going to be able to show you any of that today, not that anybody would be interested anyway. So I hate technology, but it's okay because it hates me right back. So what I've done here is I've already taken the cheek panel and the cowling off, and I've got everything ready to go. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole oil change process, but believe it or not, on an airplane it's a lot easier than on a lot of other things. All I got to do is hook a hose up down to a bucket here, push that deal up and lock it in place, and out comes the oil. I did loosen the cap over there, so not that it matters because there's a crankcase vent, but what we're looking at today, what I was going to give you a tip on, is the oil filter. Okay, back again. Got everything I need for the oil change. Probably forgot something. I always do, but 7 quarts of oil. It has an 8-quart capacity plus whatever goes in the filter. I like to keep right around 6.5 quarts. The reason being, if you add any more than that, it just blows it overboard out the vent, especially in a climb. So keeping it around 6.5 quarts keeps the belly of the airplane nice and clean and minimizes oil loss. I generally have to add about a half a quart to a quart every 15 hours or so. So the airplane doesn't use a lot of oil. In fact, when we did the annual this year, the compressions came out 80 over 80 on every cylinder. My mechanic has always been a little incredulous how good or how healthy the engine is. It's always in the mid to upper 70s during the annual inspections. But it's the original engine. The airframe and the engine both have just under 1,600 hours on them right now, total time airframe and engine. So when I bought the airplane, it had a total time of just a little over 1,300 hours. Original paint and interior. The thing's been hangared its entire life and obviously extremely lightly used, so which is not always a good thing for an airplane, but this engine seems to have held up very well. Oil analysis always comes back immaculate. In fact, they comment on they just don't see any better than that. So just got lucky on this deal. So anyway, I won't take up a bunch of time with that. But anyway, they're safety wire pliers, safety wire for the new oil filter hemostat helps getting those things off and on. Wrench for the to get the filter off. DC4 normally goes on the O-ring for the oil filter. This is a new Tempest filter. There's a note in there telling you do not use any kind of lubricant on the thing. They've re-engineered their gasket. Apparently it's already treated with something to keep it from seizing, so don't need that. So I'm not going to use the DC4 today, and we'll see if I get the filter off with any trouble next time. I've never had any trouble before, so using the DC4. An adapter for the torque wrench. Yeah, I know I'm a dope. I still use a torque wrench to put my filter on. Probably most people don't do that. Cutter for the oil filter. I'm probably not going to inspect this. The oil's only got a few hours on it. As I say, I haven't flown it all this year hardly, so I'm feeling a little guilty that I didn't change the oil at it every 6 months. It's I usually do it every 3 months or 25 hours, whichever comes first. I've been a little neglectful this year. We had renovation on one of our rental properties and a whole bunch of boat business going on that monopolized my time, so the airplane's been neglected. In case the feds are watching, service manual is out and open to the appropriate page, and I've got some notes here, torque values and that sort of thing. So anyway, the main thing you're here for to see today is this. This is what keeps your firewall, wheel well, hangar floor, and everything else nice and clean. It is a 1.5 inch piece of PVC. I just ripped it in half on a bandsaw. As you can see, I didn't do a very good job of it. I did kind of sand down the corners and everything, and as well as all the edges, make everything nice and smooth so it doesn't chafe going in. And it's been a while since I've done this, so I'll have to figure it out and then show you how I did it once I get it in there, because I'll mess around with this for a while probably otherwise. But this is basically going to slide right up in there underneath the oil filter, so that trough is going to be right underneath the oil filter, so when you pull that thing off, the oil is just going to run right out and into this bucket down here. The funnel is there to put the oil filter in to drain. You don't need the funnel. It's coffee can sitting on top of the bucket is close enough that it catches everything, it doesn't spill. So I'll get that set up and return. Okay, so here we are all set up. That actually went in a lot easier than I remembered it going in there, but you can see it kind of snakes through the ductwork there. And up under the magnetos, that's the one thing you want to be careful of. It doesn't really go near the ignition lead or the leads for the magnetos, but nonetheless, you just want to make sure you don't get hung up in any wiring or anything as you're sliding that thing back up in there. It goes fairly easily, as I say. This is probably the tightest fit right here, and a real good reason to camfer the edges on this, just so you're not abrading your ductwork there. So I'll come around the other side here and see if we can get a little better view of this. You can see the oil filter down in there, I hope. And underneath it is the PVC pipe. It's probably kind of tough to see. I don't know if the lighting at a different angle would help at all. But that the end of that PVC pipe is right up under. The screen on this GoPro keeps going out. Anybody who has one probably knows that it goes out. I suppose to save the battery life or whatever, but it drives me crazy because I can never see what I'm doing when I'm trying to do something like this. So I think that's probably the best shot we're going to get. Okay, safety wire is off the filter. Hemostats come in real handy for getting safety wire down in there. We'll get this filter off. Got a ratcheting box end wrench here. Again, tight quarters. Got to maneuver kind of carefully here. Just need to loosen this up enough. That the oil can drain. here. Don't know how well you can see any of that, if at all. And you can just see the oil starting to run out of the filter there. Right into our PVC trough. Just going to back that off a few turns, make sure there's a nice wide gap there. We're just going to let that sit and drain for a little while. If you can see that or not, the oil draining out in there. And the beauty thing is, there's none running out on the floor. It's all coming right down here into the coffee can. No fuss, no muss. Okay, so now the filter has been removed. It gives you a much better view of what's going on down there. Not that there's much question of it at this point, but there's the mounting surface right there, and you can see it just drips down in there. You could probably get by with maybe 1 1/4 inch PVC. It might make it a little easier to get up in there. The 1 1/2 seems to be okay. So this apparently definitely works on all the M20 series. By M20 series, I mean before you start getting into 201s, which would probably still work on. I don't know. It's but I think the guy who had the suggestion to try this either had an M20E or an M20J. I don't remember for sure. It may even have been a 201. So by the time you start getting into 252s and all the other variations of Mooney's, they're putting bigger engines in these and filters in different locations and that sort of thing. But again, very handy for this. Very clean. Okay. Cowling's back on, sheet panels are off. I'm just going to run it up here real quick for a leak check. I'm going to turn any of that stuff on. Clear! Oil pressure's off the peg. I was leaning it way out. We're at an elevation of about 6,600 feet here, so keep the plugs from fouling, I lean it as much as I can and keep the engine running. Enriching it obviously for takeoff, but taxiing I keep it lean. All right, technically you're not supposed to safety wire the oil filter until you've done your leak check in case you have a leak. But I'd have to pull the cowl back off to do that, so I went ahead and safetied it first. I mean, it doesn't matter, it's just you have to take the safety wire off, put it back on again. I'll record that in a minute. Okay. Okay, for the leak check, you can't see up in there, but you can see the bottom of the oil filter there. If you can see up in there, I can see it, but I'm not sure the camera can. It's good. Old airplane, but very reliable. Giant Volkswagen engine. I need to wipe that up a little bit, but all is well. Good.